Hi everyone, good morning, good evening. Welcome to part 4 of our ongoing series on DevOps for beginners. Today we'll be covering our last portion for Linux topic, wherein I'll be talking about the permissions, how you can change permissions for files and directories. Okay, so also since this is our last section for Linux, so we'll also do a small recap and then we'll discuss what is it that we are going to start next in this series. Okay, first and foremost thing is how do you change permissions, right? So when we talk about permissions in Linux or permissions for file, there are three kind of permissions which we have. The permission which is assigned to the owner of the file or a directory or to the group, okay, and third to the other users, right? So these are the three categories. So permissions for the user, which is the creator of the file or directory, permission for the group, and third permission for the other users. Okay. So what is the command to change those permissions? It is chmod, and there are two ways to allocate permission. First, using these letters R, W, X. So what does R means? That means read. So you're giving a file a read permission, a write permission, or a execute permission. Okay, so when you do chmod plus rwx, that means you are adding a permissions, right? When you do minus rwx, that is to remove the permissions. And if you want to give individual permission, for example, file already has rw, which is read and write permission, and you want to give a execute permission, what would you add? You will say chmod plus x and the name of the file. Okay, similarly, if you want to remove multiple permissions, so suppose a file which was created by say user Jyoti, it had rwx, which is read, write, and execute permission, but now you want to give that user only the read permission. Okay, and who can do those changes? Either the user who has created, again everything would depend upon the permissions, right? But mainly the super user has power to do all of these things, right? Okay, so here is the command in general, not command, I'm sorry. So I'll give you a walkthrough of these command, and when I'll show you, there are like 4 parts. When you do ls, remember ls was for listing, long listing of the content. So the first option which you see, that would tell you the type. Okay, what kind of what is it? Is it a file or a directory? Then it tells you about permission which owner has, or the creator of the file has, or the group has, or other user. So again, first I'll cover theory as I have been doing it in a previous section. So we'll have theory and followed by a hands-on lab. So even if you're not following right now, it's okay. Just understand that, or in today's topic, we are going to talk about 3 things. First is how do you change permission of a file or a directory. Then we'll talk about how do you change the owner, right? And third, how do you change the group to which a file belongs. Okay, so maybe there are 2 groups. You have DevOps and Agile. So you want to give a specific permission for users in a specific group. So instead of giving those individual permissions, what you can do, you can give those access of permission to group level. So whatever users are there under that group would have that permission. Okay. Yeah. So again, these are just command. We'll be doing it hands on as well. So how do you change the group? Okay, maybe your file belonged to a DevOps group, right? But now you want to change the file's group to a different group. So the command would be change group and either file name or folder name. Okay. So if you change the group, then that group is only applicable for the file, right? Group name for a file. Okay, but if you do it for folder, so all the files under that folder would have a new group name. Okay, so the first one is for just a specific file, and this is for all the file under that folder. Okay, finally, if you want to change the ownership, okay, so maybe today Jyoti was the owner of file, but she left. Now you want to give that ownership to say Sunant. So in that case, you'll be adding ch own name, okay, name of the new group, and then is it file or a folder name. Okay, so the first way to change permission was using these alphabets RWX. But there is another way, which we call it as octal notation, wherein what we do to each permissions, we allow certain numeric value. For example, for no permission, it is 0. Okay, for execute, it is 1. For write, it is 2, and for read equal to 4. So if you want to assign read, write, execute to a owner, so what number would be associated? It would be 7. 4 plus 2 plus 1, which is 7. Okay, so the first part is for owner, second part is that for your group, and third part is that for other users. Okay, the users who are not part of that group. Okay, so here if you see, we've given chmod 777. That means to all the to everyone we are giving read, write, and execute permission. Okay, so similarly, what does this mean? Chmod 700, that means you are giving read, write, and execute permission to the user or the creator of the file, but to the group or to the other user, it has no permissions. Okay, so if it has no permission, that means any user in that group or any other user who is not part of that group won't be able to access your files, right? So even this is kind of providing a security on who can access your file, who cannot access your file. Okay, yeah, so before coming up and on the recap part, let's practice whatever we've studied today. Okay, so as always, we'll be logging to AWS machine and we'll create a Linux instance. Okay, so what do you do after creating a Linux instance? You get a key which has extension is .temp. Using puttygen, you convert that .temp file to a private key. Okay, and then what we do, you open putty, add the public IP address of that machine, and then upload these PPK file. And this is how you get connected to your EC2 instance, which has Linux operating system. Okay, so we've done that part multiple times. So today I would directly be starting from creating a session using putty. Okay, if you want to see how all the steps, okay, from beginning to end, so you can refer to any of my previous session wherein I've shown you, okay, you log into AWS, create an instance, okay, and then how do you convert your keys, right, from .temp to private key. Yeah, so give me a second, I'll just start with the putty portion. Okay, okay. So what I'm doing is not sharing screen right now, but behind what I'm exactly doing is I'm trying to connect to the EC2 instance. So give me a second. Again, no need to memorize these commands or syntax. It's just that you should know your use case, right? When you need to do what. After that, it's very easy to Google and find out the answers. But understand, yes, in Linux also you can change the permissions of a file or directory, and those permission change could be for the creator of the file, or to the group, or to other user. Okay, yeah, so I have connected to my EC2 instance, right? Now what I was telling you, when we do ls, Okay. Oh, there's no file right now. So let me create one file. So how do you create an empty file? It is touch, say, safe.txt. Okay. And now when I do ls, what do you do? See the file. Okay. Now ls-l. Yeah. So this is the part which I was talking about in my first slide. So this particular portion, the first one where you see dash. So dash represent that this particular thing. What is it? Is it file or directory or a link? Okay. So there in Windows you create a shortcut, right? So that shortcut in Linux is equivalent to a link. Okay, so if you create a file and you create a shortcut of that file, so when you do ls-l for that particular file name, you'll see here a value other than dash and d. Okay, which would specify it to be a link. Okay, so the first part, this particular part here represents the type. So it's dash, that means it is file. Now these three things, they are for your creator of the file. And who is the creator of this file? It is EC2 user. Okay. Then next three, that has permission for group. And again, see, to the user and to the group, same permissions are allocated, which is read and write. Okay, and here username and group name are same, because you remember whenever we create a user, it gets a default group gets created with the same name. And where do you find the details about the user or group? So for user, the group, the detail could be found in this particular location. So this has got list of all the users. Okay, so these two user I had created for my practice. Okay, also if I do group, okay, so what all group you see EC2 user, Sunan, Jyoti, Scrum Master. So these are my group. Okay, now if I have to clear everything, since in this session I also plan to give you a recap of whatever we have done in our other two sessions. So I'll be just using some commands and explaining you their meaning just for a revision purpose. Okay, so we did ls-l. Okay, so we saw that the creator of this file is EC2 user and it has permission as read and write. Okay, group of this file is again EC2 user and it has got read and write. And any user other than the one which belong to this group, they have only read permissions. Okay, so now let me go ahead and switch to a super user. Okay, and now let's create a new file here, or let's create a directory. So mkdir careers talk. Okay, now if I do ls-l, what do you see here? For CareersTalk, since it was directory, it has first value as d, then read, write, execute, read, execute, read, execute. So for folder, this is the default permissions which you are getting, and the user is root and group is also root. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's switch to a EC2 user and create a directory again. So I'll say mkdir, let's say Scrum is my group. Okay, now if I do ls-l, okay, so what do you see for Scrum? Okay, so this is directory, this is read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read and execute, and user is this, group is this. Okay, now if I want to change the permissions of these particular files or directory, so how do I change the, first let's change the permission. So I'll do sudo, okay, chmod. There are two ways, remember, one is octal notation. For now, what I'll do is I'll use normal alphabet. So to the user, what I'm doing is I'm removing the execute permission for the user. So U is for user, G is for group, and O is for others. Okay, and for which particular file, let me take file as Scrum. Okay, I won't be able to make changes for CareersTalk because that has been created by root, but not by EC2 user. Okay. Or let's try. Let's see if we are able to change it. Oh yes, we are, because why we are able to change it, because we have converted your EC2 user as a super doer using sudo. Otherwise, if I would have done chmod u plus x careers talk, then I would have, see what did I get, is not permitted. Why it's not permitted? Because for this particular folder, the access is only with the root user. Earlier, why I was able to do it, because I changed my normal EC2 user. I said super doer. It's a super user now, and super user has property. Super user is above your root user. Okay. Now, if I try same thing for safe.txt, okay. So let me make this as, see, the other has read permission, but let me change, in fact remove this also, the read permission also for the other user. Okay, so what would I do? O, which is for other user, minus R safe.txt. Okay, now if I do ls-l, what do you see? Only read and write. See this part. Okay, this was before my command, right? So you saw that other user had read permission, but now if you see, there is no permission for EC2 user. Okay, yeah. Okay, one more thing. Let's create few users, right? So to create few user, I need to change to root user. And how do you create a user? You say user add and Kriti. Okay, let me create Kriti. And okay, I've created user as Kriti. Let me add one more user, Mahesh. Got it? Now let's create a file using a root user. Let's create a file. Okay, so let's create a file, canban.txt, right? See, even I tend to forget the commands. Okay, this is file created by root user. Okay, now ls-l. Okay, so okay, now root and root. Let's see if, let's go ahead and change the group of this file. This is user and this is group. So I'll change the group and user, okay, for this particular file. Okay, no, let's not do for the root. Let's change the user and group to EC2 users group. Okay. Okay, so now if I have to change, I'll do, how do you change the group? So you do ch group, okay, name of the file, which is canban text, and to whom you want to change the group to. So remember, whenever you create a name, a group name of the similar text gets created. So I do Mahesh. Let's see if I'm able to do it. Yes. Now if I do ls-l, let's keep watching the canban.text before changing the group. Right now canban text has group name as root. Okay, I have just changed it. Let's see. Now the canban.text has group name as Mahesh. Okay, so any user which belong to Mahesh group would have the permission, which is this. And what is that permission? It's read permission. That means the person would be able to open the file. Okay. Yeah. So let me switch to Mahesh user. Switch Mahesh. Okay. Now let me do cat kanban.txt. Kanban.txt. What happened? Okay, this I have to see cat kanban.no such file or directory. Oh, where is the location of kanban.txt? It would be cd home ec2 user sudo. Okay, I cannot go to that particular home directory also as a normal user because Mahesh user is not having permission to see the home directory of the EC2 user, right? Okay, I haven't set the password as well. Let me first set the password for this user. So for that, again, I have to sudo sudo. Okay. Oh God. SU EC2 user. Okay. Okay. My bad. Please don't get confused here. So till now, just remember what we did. Remember till that part, or ignored the part which after which when I switched to Mahesh user and I was trying to see the content of kanban.txt. So hold on for a second, please. Okay, so we've got 4 things here. 3 are your files and 1 is directory. How am I able to distinguish between a file and directory using this? Either it's D or dash. Okay, so there are 2 directories and 2 files. Okay, and you see that for CareersTalk directory, the user and the group is root. Okay, and for Scrum, the user and group is EC2 user. Okay, also have created 2 new users. Okay, how do I know those 2 new users? Let me just go to this folder. So you've got 2 new users, Kirti and Mahesh. Okay, the home directory for Mahesh is home/Mahesh, and for Kirti, you can change this as well if you want. But for right now, we don't need to do all those things. We'll go sequence by sequence. So first, we saw how we can change permission using RWX. Okay, so when we do plus, that means you are adding a permission. When you do minus, you are removing a permission. Now let's understand using those octal notation. Okay, if you want to change permission. Yeah, so ls -l. Let me create some more file. That way things becomes easier. File 1.txt, file 1.txt, file 2.txt. Okay, now we've got say 5 things here. Now we can play with it, right? Okay, so what is it that we are going to do now is using the octal notation, we are going to change all these permission, right? So let's start with the Scrum folder. What do you see here? The user has all the permission, the group also has all the permission, and the other has read and execute permission. What I'll do is I'll change this to just read. Okay, read for, or say read and write for your owner or a creator of the file, read for the group, and again read for the other. So what I have to do, chmod. Okay, I want to give read and write. So what is the value for read? It's 1. And what is the value for write? It's 2. For execute, it was 4. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, so I say 3. Now for what do you say? For group, I just wanted to give a read. Again, for read, it's 1. Okay, and for other also, I just wanted to give read. Oh, okay, for other, let's not give any permission, no permission. Okay, and what is the name of the folder? Scrum. Let's see. Check your last, this entry before this command. What was it? Read write, execute, read, write, execute. Okay, read and execute. Now what do you see? Only, what do you see, guys? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here you see only write and execute. Here only execute, and here no rules. Okay, there is no permission. Yeah. Maybe with numbers I have done some. Okay, 3. Let me just check what does 3 means here. Yeah, so execute is 1. I'm sorry, I said vice versa. So execute is 1, write is 2, and read is 4. So 1, 2, 4. So when I gave 3, that means I gave access of execute and write. But if I have to give just the read, then what I have to do? 4. 4 is the value. Okay, so let's do same thing, but not, let's not give 3. What would, because when I give 3, it has write and execute, but I just want to give read, only read for the creator, and for every other thing which is like group and other user, I'll give no permission. Okay, now let me do ls-8. So what do you see? Only the read permission. Okay, so 0 is for no permission, 1 is for your what do you say, execute, 2 is for write, and 4 is for read. Okay, so this method is known as octal notation. So there are two ways to change permission, using normally or RWX. And see, again, let's revise. Now again, I want to change the permission. Okay, so now I'll do chmod, and to the group I want to give all the permission, which is read, write, and execute, and I do scrum. What do you see, guys? See, now to the group also we are giving read, write, and execute. So this is the first part to change permission. Now let's come to the group part, which I had shown you earlier as well. Okay, so if I want to change the group name of this Scrum to Mahesh, okay, so let's go ahead and do it. Before that, what I can do is I can give a read permission, right? Let me give read, write, execute is there. Okay, let me first set the password for Mahesh. Okay, so password is also Mahesh. It's okay. Mahesh. Okay, now what I'll do, let's change the user of this file, Scrum, to Mahesh. Okay, so what would I do? Ch group Mahesh and file name Scrum. Now if I do ls-l, what do you see? Earlier the group was EC2 user. Now the group is Mahesh. Also, let's change the username to Mahesh. Okay, so for that the command would be owner. Okay, now let me do ls-. So for Scrum folder, user is Mahesh and group is also Mahesh. Okay, now let me switch to this Mahesh user. Okay, so I have switched to Mahesh. Now let me do, okay, okay, now sudo cd home and EC2 user. Mahesh's password is MAHESH. Come on. I'm doing something wrong with the password part. Let me just check. or let me reset its password. So how do you reset its password? Password. Only root can specify a username. Changing password. Okay. So let me give it as password as MAHESH. Changing password for Mahesh. Smart password. Authentication token manipulation failed. Why is it failing? Okay, guys. I think I'll check and I'll let you know. I think I'm missing some part here of password update. Or let's Google. It's okay, because this is also I wanted to tell you. It's not necessary that you'll remember everything, but okay. So let me see. How do you change the password of the user in Linux? Change password. Okay. Current password and new password. Or let me just do it through my sudo user only. I think that's better. Exit. I'm in root. I'll do password Mahesh. Okay. New password is 123 QWERTY. Guys, I'm trying one thing. If it works, I'll tell you what I was trying to do. User, okay. Mahesh has password as. Okay. So Mahesh is not in the superduper file. Okay. So how do you add a user to a superduper file? Another thing. How do you add user to? I think I remember how this gets done while working in Ansible. I had done changes for few users. Let me see. Okay, created a. It says I'm referring to a group. Okay. It says user mod. Okay. ag sudo new user. If you get error, run the command. Okay, so this is the command which I have got. I see. Sudo. Okay. Okay, guys, I'll check how do you change. So, but the idea was simple. What we wanted to do is, we wanted to change the group for a particular file or a directory to a different group to what it was originally associated. We did that using chgroup. And to change the owner, the command which we used was chown. Okay, so by doing that, we were able to change the permissions for sorry, the group and the what do I say, owner for that particular folder. Okay, let me try one thing. Let me, no, not this, sorry, it's that. Okay, ls dash l. Okay, clear ls dash l. Yeah. Let me just go to Scrum folder. Okay, create few file 1, file 3.txt, file 4.txt. Oh, if we have to create a multiple file, how do you do it? Using touch command. Okay, if I do ls, right? Yeah. Okay, now let me do same thing. What I had done earlier is, right now, see, when I changed the user and group of a folder, it was assigned to Mahesh and Mahesh, right? But if you see, the files under that particular folder is assigned to a root user. Okay, so what if I want to change even the files which are, I'll run same command, okay, to change the group and user for Scrum, and let's see if this time whatever files which are created under that directory, even their permission changes or not. Okay, so let's time from Mahesh, let's move this to another user, Sunand or a Jyoti user. Okay, so how do you first, let's first give read write execute everything to this Scrum folder. So how do you do it? Chmod 777 and Scrum. Okay, if you do, what do you say? Read write execute, that part is done. Now I'll say ch group and name this as so none. Okay, and do group. Okay, now ls dash l, the group is Sunand. Let me go inside the file, inside the folder, and see if even the files inside this folder has group assigned to Sunand or not. What does it says? Oh, come on. Okay, no. So what did you see? It gets whatever thing you are doing, the changes were done only to this folder, not files inside that folder. So if I have to do 4 things inside this folder, will this work? No. Okay, so you have to do at the individual level. But does that make sense that if I change the group for a folder to folder, then file inside that folder are having the original group? Okay, so how do you change the permission for entire content? Okay, so how do you change the permission group for entire folder in Linux? Guys, that's why I would recommend that you do a hands-on, right? While doing hands-on, you learn a lot of things. Okay, and today also, while giving this session, I'm also learning stuff on the go. Okay, so ch group file name. I had seen it somewhere. Let me just find it out. How do I edit? Change group. Okay, let me just share my screen so that I know what exactly I'm doing right now. I was trying to see this particular article to see if I find anything. Yeah, group I have told. Group name of the new group. That's okay. If you can also pass multiple files as the argument. Same way, like for use for permissions, you can use RWX, and for while changing the group, either you can specify the group name or you can specify the group ID. That's fine. That's fine. What does this dash H means? This is for sibling. Okay, what is it? Ah, okay. This is what you have to pass. Dash R, recursive. Okay. So what it would do, this command will change the ownership of all the files and directories under this. Okay. To the www-data group. Okay. So let's do this. Okay. So it's ch group. Let me just come out of the, okay. So I'll do ch group, then dash R. Okay. Group name is, I think, Sunand. Okay. And it was for Scrum. Now if I do ls dash L, first let me see. Okay, for Scrum it's Sunand. Okay. Let me go inside the Scrum folder and do ls dash L. Yeah. Okay. Even I learned one thing today. If recursively you want to change, like for anything inside a directory, if you want to change the owner, so this is how you can do it. Okay. So yeah, guys, you know the basic. Again, since this is DevOps for beginners, so the idea is just to give you a head start. Okay. And from here you can take the things forward by doing your research while working on the project, etc. So let's come to our last portion of our today's session, which is just quickly I'll go through whatever we have studied so far. I'll just call out the topic so that you know what all we covered. Okay. So we talked about file systems, we talked about user management, system management, some of the basics command, and then we learned how to create, read, remove the files, copy the files, and how do you search a file, content of a file, or how do you find out top 10 lines or bottom 10 lines of the files in Linux. Okay. So if in the series, your lecture 2, 3, and 4, they are part of Linux. Okay. Now what is it that we plan to do next? So we'll be studying about Git, okay, which is a free and open source software for distributed version control. Again, for today, just take the topic, take the term as it is, and we'll go in details. Okay. So as a Scrum Masters, you would be hearing these terms from the developers. Okay, I have raised a PR. Okay, I'm getting merge conflict. You'll be hearing terms like master branch, main branch, etc., feature branch, release branch. So we'll study what are all these things in our next session. So for today, that's it. Quickly recapping what we did today. So it was mainly about how do you change the permissions of a file, change the group of file, and change the owner of the file. So to change the permission, there are two ways: using alphabet RWX or by using octal notation, which is like for execute it's 1, for write it's 2, and for read it's 4. So when you do chmod 7, that means you're giving all those excess of read, write, execute, and 0 is no permission. Okay. Also, how do you check the permission? It is using ls-l. Okay, the first part of this command tells you whether it's a file directory or a sibling, and then remaining parts tells you about what permission a creator of the file has, group of the file has, and other user has. And if you want to change the group of individual files, you know what you need to do. And if you, one thing which we learned today new, which is recursively, if you want to change permissions of the files or directories inside a directory, so dash R is the option which we need to pass. Okay. So yep, thank you. see you all in the next session, wherein we'll talk about Git. Okay, bye. Okay, guys.